Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, I'm Gary Bellamy, and I'd just like to say welcome to Down the Line, the first ever all-phone-in talk show on Radio 4. Yep, now there's been a lot of nonsense in the press lately about how Radio 4 is too middle-class, too middle-aged, too white, but I'm having none of it. Radio 4 is the best radio station in the world, bar none. And I know, I've travelled a lot, I've seen the world, I've worked in Canada, and I can tell you there is no other channel like Radio 4. And do you want to know why? It's because of you lot, the listeners. You are the most intelligent, the most loyal, the most well-informed radio audience in the world, and the most articulate. And it's an honour to be broadcasting to you across the country and across the internet, of course, as well. Give us a call on 0800 068 7060 or email downtheline@bbc.co.uk. So, what should we talk about today? Well, freedom of speech is a hot topic, what with the Danish cartoons, David Irving being jailed in Austria, the terrorism bill aimed at outlawing the glorification of terrorism, and the recent bill that tried to legislate against religious intolerance. This is something that everyone is talking about, but what does it mean to you, freedom of speech? What does it mean to you? Do you think everyone should be allowed to say what they want, whenever they want, or do you think there should be limits? Call us on 0800 068 7060. That's the number, or email downtheline@bbc.co.uk. OK, we're going to the phones now for our first ever call on Down the Line. Hello, what's your point, sir?
Hi. Just regarding freedom of speech.
Yes.
I've been a Labour Party activist I joined the Labour Party when I was 17, and freedom of speech is obviously a subject very dear to me.
Yes.
I got involved. I was interested in politics from quite a young age, when most people were, I don't know, interested in football or music. I had quite an active interest in politics even then.
Okay.
And I started a debating society in my school when I was 15.
That's quite young, isn't it? Very young.
Well, yes, I suppose it is, but I'm aware of the legacy, that we have in the form of party political democracy. It's a liberal democracy, and I think it's something we should treasure and something that I've strived to maintain ever since.
Yeah.
I work for the Labour Party at grassroots level, and I feel that more and more people at this level have become dissatisfied with central office. You have somebody like Tony Blair, who's really adopted a far more presidential style of government than even previous Labour incumbents. And the point I'm trying to make is that if I'm feeling that at this level, then I think that can only be translated generally across the country. We live in a multi-ethnic society now, and I do feel that everyone's rights need to be protected. If we encourage people to speak out as they see it, or how they, in whatever they believe, I do feel that despite paying a lot of lip service to freedom of speech, there have been many attempts recently actually to stifle public debate. The dilemma occurs when you have perhaps somebody who wants to express a religious belief, which most of us in a liberal democracy would actively encourage and support. But where do we draw the line? If, for example, somebody wants to express particularly right-wing views, in the Labour Party at grassroots level, we're aware actually of a lessening
of course. Well, yes, thank you very much for your call. Some very interesting points there. Let's go to our second caller now, Amanda Glendinning from Bath. We're talking about freedom of speech. What do you want to say?
I just think everybody should be able to say exactly what they want to say, as long as they don't upset anybody else.
Right. That's a fair point.
So I'm all for freedom of speech, but then you've got your own responsibility to make sure you don't say anything that offends anybody else.
Well, wouldn't it be a bit of a boring world if we couldn't say what we felt about a thing, if you didn't upset anyone?
Be careful about other people's feelings.
Yes, I know that, but what if you say something about somebody? Okay, for example, if you knew someone had bad breath, and you said, I think you got bad breath, and they got offended by it, what about that?
That is very difficult. I have actually had that.
Bad breath?
No, I did have to say that to somebody.
You have to tell someone? You haven't got it yourself?
No, I hope not. You never know, that's the awful thing, isn't it?
So you told your friend he had a bad breath?
Yes, I did.
And then you upset him, did you?
I did tell him, it did upset him, but it was information he needed to have, and he doesn't have bad breath now, does he?
Well, thanks for your call. I think you've probably just contradicted yourself there, but that's the thing about freedom of speech. There's so many different ways of looking at it. My next caller is John Pallister from Lennox in Cheshire. Hello, John.
Hello, Gary. I just wanted to make a point about parking restrictions.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, where I live, right, they've brought in these new parking restrictions on the high street that are absolutely killing off local business. I mean, it's bad enough you get these big supermarkets out of town, everyone's banging on about, but now you can't park anywhere. You can't park on the high street. The restrictions, they're confusing, they're badly signposted. I mean, it's absolute madness. Yeah. In the past, you had your single yellow line or whatnot, the local bobby, you just have to say to him, I'm just popping to the post office or whatever for 5 minutes, would that be all right?
Yeah,
Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
But not now. Now you've got these parking wardens. Well, they're so inflexible, aren't they?
Yeah,
And when I go around to visit a neighbour, before you could park on his road quite happily. But now it's zone this, that, and the other, and I can't keep up. Is it A, B? Is it disabled? Is it commercial use? And these parking wardens, I mean, they're so inflexible.
Yeah, I know. Parking's one of those things that people do get quite upset about. So let's go to our next call now. Eric Pulford from Halifax.
I just literally phoned to say exactly the same thing that lad just said there.
My
mum used to say, if you can't say anything nice, then don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
She also said that a swan could break your arm with one flap of its wing. Well, that was useless information because I never came into contact with any swans. She also said your face will get stuck in the wind if you leave it in that shape.
Don't make a face, because if the wind changes, it'll look the same.
You got it, and I believed you, like a prat.
OK, our next caller is Stuart Hill from Gloucester. What's your point, Stuart?
Well, my point is this. It's ironic, isn't it, that the once proud African man, standing on one leg looking out across the Kalahari Desert, master of all his surveys, is now exacting a terrible revenge after centuries of oppression, removed from his homeland and subjugated, is now bringing the white man to his knees by issuing parking tickets willy-nilly. And I feel, excuse me, that it actually demeans both the African man and the European man, that we are now waging a war over, with parking tickets, pieces of paper and bureaucracy, over the silly notion of, you can't park your car there, or you can park your car, for example, there.
Right, it certainly is ironic. It's a good point, or is that racist? I'll tell you what, it'd be great to hear from someone from the black community to get their views on that, or in fact to get their views on anything. So come on, if ring in if you're black. We'd love to hear from you. Hello, next caller. Hello, you're through to Down the Line. Hello.
Hello, Gary.
Hello.
I'm calling about freedom of speech because it really is, if you think about it, a cornerstone of British democracy. British people are very polite and responsible. We're a very responsible nation. We've had a long history of acceptance.
Yes.
If you don't have freedom of speech, you have a very oppressive society.
That's right, and we're lucky we haven't got that, haven't we?
Yeah. I think Britain is possibly the only nation that can handle freedom of speech responsibly.
Why do you think that is?
Well, we've had a long history of being polite to each other, opening doors for ladies, sheltering under someone else's umbrella. I think that Britain is should be a shining beacon to the rest of the world. And when Idi Amin, I think, expelled the Pakistanis Indians out of Uganda, they come over here and they've come on lovely.
Yeah.
Ever such lovely people. And we're using them.
Well, listen, that's lovely. Thanks very much for your call. Thank you for that. Next caller is Julian Finch from Sevenoaks in Kent. Hello, Julian. Are you black? No. What's your question?
Are we to believe that we now have on the flagship radio station of the BBC an ill-informed yob?
Whoa, listen, I defend your right to call me a yob, right? But I'm not a yob.
An ill-informed yob presiding over a ragtaggled bobtail group of idiots, ringing in with their pathetic opinions. This is Radio 4. I repeat, this is Radio 4.
I heard you the first time.
Well, what are you going to say for yourself?
Well, you're just ringing in with... You're the idiot with your idiotic opinions. You're just doing what you just complained about.
I simply call into attention to you and all your listeners that this does not form a valid radio broadcast for this station. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you.
But this is really good. This is exactly the kind of conversation we want to have. You know, you can say whatever you like. This is your show. And
freedom of speech is not just being able to say what you like to who you like when you like.
Well, yes, it is. That's the definition of the term, freedom of speech.
So you're saying I can literally say to you now, you're a putz.
Yes, of course, you're well within your rights to call me a putz because it's your duty to be able to say what you want in the freedom of speech. I could call you a putz.
Could you?
Well, I could. I could. I'm free to speak, but under BBC guidelines, I kind of work under a different...
And what insults are you allowed to call me under BBC...